Welcome to a Mother's Touch podcast where this is our pour. I'm your host, sincerely Christina Marie, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a conversation where I'm looking to pour into you to fill your cup as the wife, as the mother, and the woman as a whole. You're asking probably, why a podcast, Christina? Everybody's doing a podcast, and I kind of felt that way too. But one thing for sure that I know through this conversation and through this podcast, I'm being obedient to the one. The Lord has really been leading me to do this for quite some time now. And I just want to be obedient to that because I know I have to be dependent on Him. And I pray that through these conversations that you will have hope, that you will be able to have an opportunity to get poured into as the wife, as the mother, and as the woman. And my heart is that your heart will be touched as well. And so as a mother's touch, that's what it's about. And why a mother's touch? Where did that name even come from? This actually birthed out of a desert season in my life. Back when in 2022, I became a stay-at-home mom. And I was in a season where what am I doing? Yes, I get an opportunity to serve my babies and I get to serve my husband in the home. But I really felt like I wanted to do more. And a mother's touch just kind of birthed from that. We were living in the desert of California. And in that season, I was like, Lord, what can I do? I have no money. I have these babies I'm working with. And He said, use what was in your hand. And at that time, it was baby clothes. And He told me to just sell gently used baby items for helping my mama community, balling on a budget. And from there, in my heart, I was like, I want to do more than that. I want to give this for free. So that's where the cups with the cause kind of came into place. And when I created really cute cups with the cause, I started learning the small business. I learned the brand on how to make it what it is to even today. And when I created the cups, I had my first pop-up and I sold out completely. I completely sold out, and that's when I was able to create a storage unit and turn it into a baby boutique. And I had this 10 by 10 baby boutique and had all the baby clothes, all the baby items, all gently used completely for free. And I just felt so blessed and I felt so honored to be able to serve my community in that way, because as a mother, as a wife, and as a woman who is just trying to figure this thing out, I saw this need that needed to take place. And from there, it grew. We moved into a bigger unit, a 16 square foot unit, and I was able to do so much more. The cups were able to be sold there and help the mothers with the clothes. I was doing care packages. In that time, in that season, I was able to steward over 40 plus women to do these things in. And I was so grateful for that season. However, as time went on, I felt a shifting. I felt a shaking kind of taking place. And I felt the Lord was just leading me in a different direction. My husband had lost his job. We were being released in our church at the time. And I was like, where am I going from here? And when I tell you, I was going through a desert season where I was being stripped and pulled and things were out of my control in every aspect possible. As the wife, as the woman, as the businesswoman, as a mother, all these different things was going on, and I felt completely out of control. But that's when the Lord really captured my attention. He captured my heart. He's like, Christina, does the building have your heart, or do I have your heart? And from there, that's when I knew, because when He gave me the unit, He gave me that same question. And it's the same question that He gave me when He told me to let it go. And I was so heartbroken, I was devastated, and I had to grieve that process. And I had to grieve the idea of what a mother's touch was going to be. Because a mother's touch blossomed in the desert. Cactus blossom, a candle that I created through my brand, birthed because of that. Because a mother's touch was flourishing, was blossoming in a desert season. And all that came to a stop. And I had to dream again. I had to ask the Lord, I'm in this desert season, but I need your help. I need your guidance, because everything looks like it's dead. It's dry. It's deserted, just like the desert. And when I produced this cactus blossom at a mother's touch, it just showed me that even though this can be like a dry desert season, you can still bloom. When you see a cactus and when it has the flowers, it produces once time a year, and it's massive. There's some people out there who wait to see this cactus bloom in that way just for this one moment. And that's it. The harvest season is in that moment. And then it dies, and then you plant, you grow, and you continue to move forward. But for me, I was just like, Lord, I thought this was it. I thought this was the big moment. And he's like, no, again, do I have your heart? Or does the building have your heart? And it just showed me that I was so much more than my brand. I was so much more than a Mother's Touch Co. Because that's where I felt like I was getting the most fulfillment. But he's like, no, I need to fill you up. And that's, again, my goal with this podcast. He needs to be the center. He needs to be the one to be able to fill you up. And that's through this conversation. And that's the future of what this is kind of going to. Because now, a Mother's Touch, we're stepping into the overflow. What I thought was dead, what I thought was going to be planted and buried, was just a seed being planted to whatever else was going to become now. And my heart, again, is just to do this life with you in every aspect possible. Because a Mother's Touch to me is definitely my heart. It's stuff that's been in my heart for many, many years, and now it's just being exposed. This is the overflow. So I thank you for being here, because, and a matter of fact, we're in the upper room of my house right now. The upper room is where this is all being started. And I don't think it's by coincidence, because a Mother's Touch podcast, this is our pour. This is where we get to have a conversation and get to pour into one another. But also too, I pray that through this conversation, you could go out and be that light and be that voice of hope for somebody else. And whatever is being poured into you, you get to pour that into others at your job, in your workspace, in school, in whatever capacity that may be. Being at home with your babies, being a stay-at-home mom, what an honor and privilege that can be too. I don't want you to think that just because you're home with your babies that it's looked down upon or it's seen as like minute. It's not. It has a purpose. It has a value. You get to raise this next generation. You get to be a part of something that the Lord had already planned and stored beyond its time. He had your kids be born in this time specifically for such a time as this. So we can't lose hope in this generation. You can't lose hope in your children. You have to press on to move forward into the things that they have, not just for you, but for your future of your children and your children's children. So again, why a Mother's Touch? Why the podcast? This is something that is new to me. This is something that I'm even uncomfortable as myself. But you know what? One thing for sure, I want to leave this world empty. I want to be able to pour out my heart and say, Lord, I gave it all for you in every aspect. I don't want to leave full. I don't want to leave full of myself and wishing and hoping for the things that, I wish, we could have done for the Lord. No, I want to be able to fulfill everything that the Lord has. And this just so happened to be a part of it. What I thought was going to be gone forever, he's like, no, we're just getting started, Christina. And that's something he really told me in the beginning of this year when I was willing to sacrifice and give it up all for the Lord. He said, Christina, we're just getting started. Thank you. Thank you for being willing. Thank you for being obedient. And number one, wanting to let this go. Because I had to check your heart. I had to do some major heart surgery. I had to do things within you that you didn't even realize was still bothering you. And so for me, I had to empty of myself. I had to empty of the idea of what was. And from there, grow into what can bloom and blossom in the now. And so with this transition, in this journey, this is real time. I'm inviting you into the room. I'm inviting you to the upper room to have this conversation with me, to do life with me in this time. And that's what these conversations are going to be about. It's going to be about life. It's going to be about womanhood, about being a wife and a mother through all the things. And I don't want to just do this alone. I want to have other people involved with it. But right now, I just want to give you the heart behind this brand, behind this podcast. It's so much more than me, but it's my heart. One of my slogans on my brand at A Mother's Touch Co. is, a heart of a mother is touching the hearts of many. And that's what this is. I pray this will touch your heart. I am here for the long haul. I'm not here just to be another voice to be heard. I'm not here to have just another platform to just be like, oh, I have an opinion, or oh, I have something to just talk about nonsense. No, that's not the purpose of this podcast. We could go somewhere else with all that. I want to do this with purpose. I want to do this where it's the overflow of what's happening within my heart, and that's through Jesus. Whatever the Holy Spirit wants to pour into me as in real time, I want to be able to pour that into you as well. This is not just me trying to create a voice and a platform for myself. No, this is to make his name great, to speak of the things that he's doing in my life right now and in the lives of others, to have testimonies, to have faith movements that have stirred my life, that has stirred even my real life position, to take me from California to bring me back to the cornfields of Ohio. And we'll get into that later. But right now, this is the conversation that I pray will just touch your heart and will be the brand and the beacon of why we're doing what we're doing. Because I did not want to do this, y'all. I really didn't. This was not something that I had on my vision board, my prayer board. This was not it. But this is something that the Lord told me to do, leading me out of the darkness, out of the wilderness, and to be that voice of hope, to be a messenger of hope for the mother, for the wife, and for the woman as a whole. Because we, as we fill these roles and these positions, we're constantly pouring out to others, constantly serving, constantly pouring into our husband, constantly serving our children, constantly serving the workspace, constantly serving our home. And take this time through this conversation to get poured into for once. You get poured into, because we hear this slogan all the time where we can't pour from an empty cup. We can't. And that's what this is. This is my heart, once again, behind it. And I'm so glad you're here, because this is real time for me. This is something that I can't do alone. And I'm inviting you in, and I'm inviting others to join me, to take their position, to take their rightfully place. Because something that the Lord showed me in the beginning of this year, going into 2024, was two things. The first half of the year, he wants us to prepare. The latter half of the year, I believe he's positioning. I believe he's preparing and positioning us to do everything that we're supposed to be doing through him, so that when 2025 comes, we're flourishing. We're flourishing in the fullness of everything that he has for us, for his kingdom, because time is ticking, time is near. And why wouldn't we want to do that for the Lord? Why wouldn't we want to be obedient to the one who gave us life and breath in our lungs? Why wouldn't we sacrifice our life to do his will on earth? And that's something the Lord has even been working on me in this time, in this season of the podcast, where I said, Lord, I don't want to do it. He's like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. He said, the moment we ask, Lord, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, that's the moment where we've asked for that. When we've been able to have the Lord come into our lives and do the things that he's called us to do, we've answered the call to him. It has to be accordance to him. And once we answer that call to him, okay, that's point of salvation. After that, all right, Lord, what is the things that we need to sacrifice? What are the things that we need to do? And he's like, hey, go do this for me. Go do that. And it might hurt. It might feel uncomfortable. It might put you in a position that you probably don't even want to be in. But he's calling you to that place. He's calling you to that position. And for us, for a season, it was being in the wilderness. But now I feel like he's calling us out of the wilderness. And he's calling me out of the darkness. He's calling out of the secret place that I've been hidden for so many years. So what is he asking you today? What is the thing that he is asking you to do, and that he wants you to either go to the secret place to have some more time with him? Or is he pulling you out? What is that season? I just want to take that moment to ask that question, and take that time this week to ask you, like, Lord, what is it that you're asking of me? Is it something that he's asking you to sacrifice? Or is it something that he's like, actually, just be still in this season. Just be still so I could be poured into you. Or is it, hey, go serve that community, go serve that church, go serve those children? What does that look like for you in this season? I just want to prompt you and ask you that. Also, number two, I really want my heart posture to be for you, for the kingdom, but for you. And in doing that, I know I have to depend on the Lord. This podcast is the one area I could have a brand. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a brand that I've mastered, if I do say so myself. I know how to do the cups. I know how to do the candle. I know how to create a brand. But this area right here, this is an area where I have to depend on the Lord with every inch of me. And not saying that I don't do that on my day-to-day basis, but this is different. This is exercising my faith to the Father. So, welcome to A Mother's Touch. And A Mother's Touch, if you didn't know, is a brand that I created in the desert season. But what we are now is not what we were. This is a new season. This is a new time. And we are collections curated with a cause. We're conversations compelled with compassion. And we're community driven. This is what we do, and the why. Because I can't do this just to make it about me, but it's about you, the community. And I pray every time you get a cup, every time you get a candle, that you will be reminded of these things, that you will be reminded to get your cup filled, to have a beacon of hope through the light of a candle, that you can dream again in a desert season, and that you will have hope to continue to press on into whatever it is the Lord wants you to do. Again, I'm your host, sincerely, Christina Marie. Please share this with somebody. If it touched your heart, share it with a friend. Let me know in the comments what you want to learn more about, what you want to talk about. Also, if what touched your heart in this episode. Like, subscribe, share, all the things on all platforms. And I would love just to hear what's on your heart. So thank you for tuning in to A Mother's Touch pod, where this is our pour.